Did you know that the Olympics were first established in 1894, and while it only took 6 years for women to be allowed to compete, they were limited to only 5 programs that were deemed compatible with keeping their femininity? Shockingly, it wasn't until 2012 that women were finally allowed to compete in all the same programs as the men. This demonstrates just how long women have been advocating for peace and equality within sports. Now, most of us know a woman or girl in sport, whether she's your daughter, sister, niece, or maybe even yourself. What most of us don't know are the societal barriers that still exist and continue to influence equity and women's success in sports. Many of these challenges go overlooked, and addressing and removing them can help lead to peace in our communities. Now, you may be wondering how this all relates to the topic at hand. Peace comes from equality, and we won't achieve that until we remove the barriers women in sport face. Peace also comes from seeing yourself get better and gaining a sense of self-accomplishment. I myself find peace in sports. Oftentimes, I'll find myself looking forward to practice or a game, as I find it's what helps put my mind at ease. I love getting into the gym and watching some shots fall, and I can't even begin to explain the amount of fun that I have with my teammates. Some of my best, most peaceful memories were founded in sports, and they've shaped me into who I am today. They've made me stronger, more resilient, and taught me how to learn from my mistakes and grow. It's why I'm so passionate about this subject, because I want to be able to reduce these barriers so that more girls can run towards sports, not from them. Now, I believe that the benefits to girls playing sports truly are endless. I know firsthand the benefits that come from playing sports and being on a team. Playing sports helps raise girls' self-confidence and self-esteem, as well as creates a higher level of well-being. Studies show that athletes who play sports in high school will often achieve better grades, and that girls who play sports in their teen years will often become women who lead in their adult ones, because sports teaches them very important qualities in leadership like commitment, responsibility, and discipline. In fact, one study done by a professor and student at the University of Guelph showed that 94% of women in high-level management positions were once former athletes. So why does this all matter? Because studies also show us that girls' participation in sports is declining, with them dropping out at twice the rate of boys. It also matters because girls are more likely to experience mental health issues, such as anxiety or depression, more so than their male counterparts. This is why it is so important that we focus on removing the barriers women in sports face and creating an environment where everyone feels empowered and valued, a space that entices young girls to want to be a part of it, and in doing so, helps develop strong women for our future. Now, a very common barrier that women in sport face is online abuse. In the 2020 Olympics, 87% of the online abuse was directed towards the female athletes, with a very common example of this being body shaming, when the athlete didn't fit that stereotypical athlete's build. I believe that we are going to see a change and find peace if we stop viewing the female athletes as weaker or slower and just start seeing them for who they really are instead. Amazing, strong women who have worked so hard to achieve great things. I personally believe that this is one change that would entice a lot more girls, especially at the high school level, to join sports if they felt welcomed and accepted for who they are, regardless of their body type. Another very common barrier that women in sport face is airtime, and broadcasters will often dedicate a lot less coverage to them. I know that I love watching the WNBA with my dad, and our favorite team to cheer for is the Indiana Fever because Caitlin Clark plays for them. During her college years, she set records that were so incredible, she shocked sports fans nationwide. She set the all-time Division I basketball scoring record for both women and men. But we've actually noticed that's pretty difficult to find a channel that is streaming her games, and sometimes we're even unable to watch them simply because we just can't find them anywhere. And that's where the change is needed. And I don't believe it's not possible because no one watches women's sports, because that's just not true. We saw that it wasn't true when in the 2024 D1 NCAA Women's Basketball Championship, 18.9 million people tuned in to watch, which was 4 million more viewers than the men received that year. The issue is that there is no lack of demand. We just need to make the change that will meet it. Now, in researching this topic, I came across a recently done UNESCO report. For those who don't know, UNESCO reports offer a wide-ranging overview of the most critical and pressing issues affecting the globe today. I was so excited to see that in November of 2023, they released the UNESCO Sport and Gender Equality Game Plan. I will share with you today the 6 measures identified necessary in the report to reducing the inequalities women in sport face. The first focuses on developing strong role models for our female athletes, both female role models and male role models. The second focuses on equal and fair media coverage, both for our female athletes and our female reporters. Another common barrier that women in sport face is violence. So the third focuses on establishing safeguards and laws that are going to prevent violence and discrimination for our female athletes. To build on that, the fourth focuses on establishing transparent and anonymous abuse reporting systems so that survivors can come forward anonymously. The fifth focuses on investing in education and training for coaches and other sports professionals on how to recognize and reduce violence in sport, as well as gender equality and inclusion. And finally, the sixth focuses on giving our survivors a voice and strengthening research on the subject, because there's still so much that we can discover. Now, you may be wondering, why should I care about all this? So I want you to think of all the young girls who love watching sports games with their family, like me. She's sitting there, she's watching a sports game with her family, and it's mostly likely she's watching a men's game, coached by men, refereed by men, being covered by male reporters. So how is she supposed to see herself in that? How is she supposed to imagine that that's her on that screen, with thousands of people cheering for her, just like she wants to be able to? As you can imagine, it's more difficult. But there is some good news, and that's that things are starting to change. Women's sports are on the rise, and we are making huge headways with female athletes, with stars like Caitlin Clark, who is skyrocketing viewership in the WNBA. Simone Biles has absolutely baffled people with her ability to launch herself 12 feet in the air at the Olympics. We're making huge improvements with female coaches, like when last year, the NHL hired Jessica Campbell, the league's first ever female coach. Over at Cape Breton University, they recently opened Kehoe Forum, Canada's first ever hockey arena dedicated to women's hockey, creating a milestone so historic that the Prime Minister's wife, Diana Fox-Carney, actually came out to celebrate the opening after being a former player herself. In Toronto, a PWHL game recently attracted a sold-out crowd of over 19,000 people, making it the best attended women's hockey game ever. There is so much good happening for women's sports, and as a young female athlete, it is so exciting to see. But now, more than ever, we need to make the necessary changes so that girls stay involved in sports and reaping the benefits. A journalist, Dave McGuinn, has a quote that I really like, and he has said, "Women's sports are having a moment, but they need to be having a movement." So, I encourage you to keep this movement going. The next time you sit down to watch a sports game, consider tuning into a women's one. A lot of the barriers that girls in sports face go overlooked, so the next time you see a young female athlete, acknowledge that and encourage her to keep going. Enroll your daughters and granddaughters in sports. Who knows? Maybe she'll be the next Caitlin Clark. And even if she isn't, she'll have made memories that last her a lifetime. I would like to leave you today with a quote from the world-renowned tennis player Martina Navratilova. She has said, "Labels are for filing, labels are for clothes, labels are not for people." I think that this quote is so powerful because it's so true. It's time that we start ripping off those labels that have been put on women in sport and start celebrating their accomplishments instead. Maybe then, true peace for both men and women can be attained. Thank you.